I'm really not convinced that the attack on Hitchbot by some unknown individual or individuals illustrates anything about inequality in the labor market. It's a powerful prompt, though. The robot itself was apparently hitchhiking across the United States, and a sort of prototypical American act, and we've got this act of violence against it. My colleagues and I who study humans and robots and how they interact in the workplace, though, many of us reacted to this story with some strong familiarity, because though we didn't intend to study it, what many of us have found in many contexts like medicine, manufacturing, a variety of other environments at various levels in organizations, is that people, especially lower on the totem pole, so to speak, in the workplace, have reacted negatively and strongly to these kinds of systems with physical violence. So particularly in my case, as I studied mobile transport robots in a medical facility, these robots move down hallways, operate elevators, and so on to transfer things like tissues or blood samples from point to point. And in many cases, in many facilities, late at night, for example, times where managers might not observe, workers who are frustrated with disappearing jobs or managerial supervision or surveillance, these were two common themes, found these robots and found ways to do violence to them, either in some cases stabbing out the eyes on these robots, just hitting them with a baseball bat, or moving them into locations where they could no longer function. And at the same time, though, there's a positive side of this equation. On the negative side, you have this clear work sort of sabotage towards these very visible and mobile robots. At the same time, many workers formed strong, almost surprisingly strong, positive attachments to these systems. They would name them, follow them around and chat with them as they went down the hall, dress them up for holidays, and in some cases bake zucchini bread for them as a gift. So yes, it's an interesting story to pay attention to from the perspective of these systems creating troubles with respect to jobs and so on. They're very visible, an easy target for workers to pay attention to. But just as interestingly, I think, on the positive side, they're an easy target for affection and workplace relations. So a lot more questions there than answers. We do know from history that workers take violence out on technology. The Luddites are perhaps the most famous example of this. What's less known is that they took violence out mostly in situations in which they thought these technologies were being deployed in a way that demeaned their work or took it away, which again is very similar to what we're noticing now with robots. But if we're looking for technologies that might account for massive job losses or the kinds of effects that workers seem upset about, robots are far less than rounding error there. These systems are not deployed widely enough to dramatically affect employment for any but a few individuals. Really, the culprit here is software. If people want a target or a loom to break, they should be looking at software rather than robots. But robots, again, they move in our environment, in our shared environment, in a way that makes them seem like they have intention. So it's understandable, and it's an area that we really need to be looking into more to consider this kind of violence against robots, but also the strong attachment in the workplace, because these systems are getting far more cheap and far more capable as time goes on, and this is happening very quickly. So we're going to see a lot more of this kind of stuff going on in the future, and it really needs to be studied very carefully.